Well, diet soda is not healthier for you because it destroys your gut health. It destroys your gut bacteria.
What's up, everybody? I am your host, Keisha from Put Your Phone Down podcast, and I have a special guest right now who is going to inform us about all the things you need to know. I plan on asking Dr. Padda about lupus, about fibromyalgia, about diabetes, and this is the perfect one to ask for something like this. It is very important that we get educated about these autoimmune diseases, and we just had an awesome conversation. I will not hold anybody any longer. I have Dr. Padda on the podcast who is going to explain to us. He has over 30 years experience in what he does. Welcome to Put Your Phone Down podcast, Dr. Padda.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. So I know we spoke about, just different things. And I know you said, Keisha, I would like to basically speak about your background and the African-American community. I want to put a disclaimer. This is not at all just for African-Americans. I want it to be for everybody who can get something out of it. But by me being African-American, I wanted to speak to my community. So can you please give us some background on what made you get into this healing business? That's basically what it is.
Yeah, so as you can tell, I'm not from the U.S. I grew up in India. I speak American Midwestern English, but I grew up in India. And I grew up in India at a time right after India partitioned with Pakistan. And hundreds of thousands of people were killed in that transition period when India separated from Pakistan. This was after the Brits left. My family relocated to the US because India was becoming communist and we were rapidly descending into communism. And we didn't want to be in a communist state. So we came to the United States. My father's a physicist, my mother's a mathematician, and I grew up in St. Louis City after the age of 8 or 9. And I grew up in downtown St. Louis City in the projects. I grew up in a place called Town. I didn't know that there were white people in the United States. I hadn't met any at first because all I saw were other kids. Now, I happened to be brown and they happened to be a little bit darker. I happened to have a turban and I couldn't speak English and they spoke fluent English, but I didn't know that there were, it was only on television that I realized there was a whole other population of people because I grew up watching Sanford and Sons and I grew up basically in Laclede Town. Now, eventually we moved out of Laclede Town and I ended up completing my education in the county. And that's the first time I ran across more than 2 white people at a time. So it was odd. I didn't quite grasp it. I'd always loved science. I'd always loved technology, and ended up going in medicine. But I ended up wanting to really give back to my community. And because I was from India and I was a kid and I couldn't speak the language, I spent a lot of time introspecting and being quiet and observing. And it gave me an opportunity to look at people and not just look at them, but see what they were doing. And because I was cross-cultural, I was from India, I was with an African-American population, and then I was with a predominantly white population, and I could see the differences in the communities. And I could see behavioral, and I could see nutritional, and I could see wealth, and I could see shifts in demographics. And it led to some conclusions for me as I grew up. I eventually went to medical school and graduated, and I always wanted to give back to my community. So that I relocated back into the central core of St. Louis, and that's where I've been doing at first anesthesia, then interventional pain, then obesity and addiction. And so I've always tried to help the community that helped me at first when I first moved to the U.S. I think there's some things that we have to recognize, and they're hard truths that have happened. And I think that I want to directly speak to your African American population that is a good chunk of the people that listen to your podcast. There's two components of soda that are a problem. One is the vegetable oil that they sometimes will add, and it's a brominated vegetable oil. It has bromine in it, and there's no reason to even have brominated vegetable oil. You have to create that stuff. It makes the soda taste more citrusy with a chemical. At the same time, it probably dissolves some of the plastic that's in the bottle and increases your plastic load. And right now, 99% of males in the United States have plastic in their testicles. We can pick it up. We can see the microplastic in their penis and in their testicles, which explains why there's such a high rate of impotence in the United States. They're giving you 55%, 60% fructose. They're spending extra money to increase the fructose. Why would they do that? Well, it turns out that fructose is hyperaddictive. It makes you want to Jones every hour and a half to have another soda. It's a consumption behavior that they want you to have. They want you as addicted to that as crack cocaine. It's just a different form of crack. And they've purposely done this, and they're not using just regular high fructose. They're using high fructose corn syrup. They're spending extra money to increase the fructose to do that. And it's just plain wrong, but it also causes you to become more insulin resistant in your brain because you consume it all the time. And what's happened is that kids right now are drinking 4 to 6 sodas a day. That's hundreds of grams of sugar. And some people think, oh, I'm going to drink a diet soda and that's healthier for me. Well, diet soda is not healthier for you because it destroys your gut health. It destroys your gut bacteria, and it allows you to get lipopolysaccharide across your gut wall. It allows bacteria to get into your bloodstream, and it causes a secondary side effect of making you have fatty liver. It causes your insulin level to go up, and it makes you more insulin resistant, and it actually increases your risk of getting diabetes by having artificial sugars. Like if you get a bag of Doritos, if you've ever had a bag of spicy Doritos, you look in there and you think, oh, these are Doritos. Each one of those Doritos has a different flavor slightly. They have about between 8 to 15 flavors in a bag of Doritos. And each one is subtly different. And that's why it's hard to stop eating it. Because you have one and you put it in your mouth and you go, that was good. You have another one and it has a slightly different flavor, but you can't tell the difference. But your brain can. And it goes, that was better. Then you have another one and that was a different flavor. And you go, that was even better. You never hit satiety because it keeps switching the flavor profile. And it's called a Dorito effect. And that's what hyper-processed food does. They subtly modify the food so that you never hit satiety because they want you to keep eating.